I'm going to try to get us to find a place where something we do disagree on, and then we can talk from there. But do you want to say anything about yourself, Glenn, before we start?
Do I do what now? No.
Okay. So Glen Autrey is a friend of mine, and he talks about consciousness quite a bit and a lot of things, and he reads a lot. And I read a lot and watch a lot, and I love the conversation about consciousness. I'm obsessed with the nature of consciousness. So that's about all we need to know about us. We agreed to have Glenn on to my channel called Skeptical Spectrum on my new show called Change Jim Porter's Mind. And the idea here is I want to get to know people who have opposite beliefs of mine and learn to be a much better listener and let them get out what they need to say. And maybe we'll both walk away with a different orientation or reactivity to these sometimes difficult conversations. Glenn and I seem to agree on a lot of things. So a couple of things I'm going to throw out at you just to see if you agree or disagree would be A, I believe that human consciousness is not evidence of an individual human soul. How do you feel about that?
I think that's partly true.
Okay, so that's a pretty good one. Another one is I can believe, I can take the position that free will is, I'll make it extra, absolutely an illusion. That free will is not a real thing. That we don't really.
I disagree with that.
You disagree with it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, then this.
I mean, you're talking about volition.
I'm talking about volition. I'm talking about human agency. So yeah, so that you know what to argue against or argue for in opposite of this. I believe that there is no place to find the agent within us, not even in the prefrontal lobes, the frontal lobes or the prefrontal cortex. I believe that basically everything that happens in here that looks and feels like a choice is really, like we used to say, just a lot of natural reactions that we can't do on purpose, because in a way we don't really exist as an individual agent. And so it may look and feel like we're making choices, but it's really, they're all foregone conclusions up to a point. Okay, so that's all I wanted to describe the position I'm taking today. And then you can tell me why it's wrong, or why you believe in personal volition and agent and having an internal agent that makes decisions or whatever.
Well, consciousness is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. It's what we're aware of. And of course, you know, I think one of the main agents we use to decipher what we're aware of is our eyes. And they tell a story, and it's certainly part of what we're aware of. But Black Elk said, it's in the darkness of their eyes that men get lost. And I think that he's saying there is that we put too much credence on what we see with our eyes, and we don't realize that there's something that you can't see with your eyes that's always present, and that we have an avenue to it if we choose to use it. So the way to do that is to decide that this is the direction I'm going in. Now, you're implying that that's a foregone conclusion, that you just think you're deciding it. But then even if I change my mind, that was foregone also. And then if I change my mind again, I mean, I don't believe, it sounds too fatalistic to me. I have had too many experiences in my life where I think we're talking about the magician that lives inside each of our psyches. I took that energy and I went in a constructive direction that I thought I chose. Like I decided to build my house with my own hands. Had never built a house before, but I knew how to read. And I had a friend that was a carpenter, and between the two of us, you know, by God, we did it. And so there's definitely volition there. When I raised my kids, I intended to guide them in a certain direction in terms of health, diet, type of home they would live in, the kind of home they would create, and education. And the product worked. It's I mean, volition to me, when I don't see somebody accessing their volition, whether it's intellectually or physically in this world creating something, it just seems to me like such a waste to not access the infinite possibility through your decisions. So
Okay.
that's kind of how I feel.
When you said, when I see a person not accessing their personal agency, to me to me that sounds like you're saying, sometimes you can observe whether a person is making their own choices or just going on autopilot.
What appears to me to be them not doing it.
Okay, yeah. So and again, I'm not here to rebut. I might throw out another detail here or there to give you a chance to rebut, but I'm not here to rebut. So in one way or another, probably a lot of us could agree that at the very least it looks like, even from the outside.
Well, look, the only thing I'm certain is not an illusion is consciousness. Okay. What I'm doing with it may be in proper alignment with what it is or may not. It really doesn't matter because it's rather impersonal towards me. It's what I intend toward it that makes the difference. So you follow what I'm saying there?
Yes. And this is not intended to be a rebuttal. It's something I probably would ask.
That's fine. That's cool.
I will ask you to rebut or whatever. There's an old expression. I can think of 3 ways to translate it. And they used to use the word man for humans back then. So I'm just going to use people. I'll say people. People can do what they want, but they can't want what they want, or people can do what they will, but they cannot will what they will. And then my new phrasing of it is, because you use the word intention. People can do what they intend, but they cannot intend what they intend. They cannot choose what they intend to do. What do you think about that?
It just doesn't sound logical to me, especially the last step.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, I just feel like volition is key to health, and we're made to believe. We can believe a lie, and it appears to be our truth. So that just because we believe it doesn't mean it's true, even though we believe it's true. That's kind of a thing. But we're made to do that, and I just believe, and I know it's just a belief that that I can do it, that I can try and do something with it, whatever it is I decide to do it, and I go for it.
Yeah.
I know. At the same time, I think I believe that I can't find a woman to cohabitate with that's kind of stopping me from something that if it was pure volition, I would do.
Right. So that's a very interesting part of the whole discussion. There's more to the discussion. That's not just, is there volition, isn't there volition? We all know that we lose control sometimes.
We don't walk into any experience naked, except for maybe the first one. And even then we had the womb, I mean.
Yes, right, right.
I don't know how we're aware when we're there, but I'm sure that if a woman got the shit beat out of her when you were inside of her, that you lived through that. She did the shock, it went through her system, and
yeah. And
I wouldn't blame you if you came out and beat the shit out of the woman for taking that beat before.
Yeah, I mean, if we could just come out and beat the shit out of our dads,
yeah,
hey, everything would be equal. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's research on, and I don't know the various ways that this has been operationalized and made into a observable research data. But one of them is, when you tell a person what gender their child is, from a sonogram, they immediately start speaking differently to that child. and they immediately start buying different clothing for that. You know, like when the
Well,
child's
that's understandable. Yeah.
yeah, when they're in the womb, if you hear, oh, that's a little girl, they're just gonna start talking like this, and they're gonna buy
Yeah.
dresses, and they're gonna make the baby's room for a girl, you know. And
Yeah.
the same happens when they hear about a boy. They're like, oh
Yeah.
my God, he's gonna be a soccer player. Oh, look at
Yeah.
this guy. Hey, little boy, how you doing in there? So that's audible, you know. It's been observed that a baby will come out of the womb knowing the father's voice.
I can
Apparently,
believe that. It's a
responding.
vibration. He felt the vibration, recognized
Yeah,
the vibration. Yeah.
that's fascinating. So yeah, again, this is why I have these discussions, because there's a lot more to it than my professed belief or my held belief. There's so much more interesting than do I believe that basically fatalism is the best word for it because it's the most extreme position. It's more extreme than determinism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I just believe in choice. I do.
yeah.
You know,
Go ahead. Yeah.
you got to make a move. You know, part of the story that we're writing is, you know, if it's a novel, you start out with the problem. The problem was I was discovering lies in my childhood. It didn't fit with the story that I'd been believed, you know. So it's like, well, what the fuck is real? And so that's the quandary. And then the second part is, what did you do to meet that situation? And so for me, a lot of it was men's group, therapy, reading more than anything. And I'm sure you're aware that the real work is done outside of the session. You know, it's, are you working in between sessions? And if you're doing that, psychology works, unless you got a mental illness, you know, but it works. And so that's going to be part of the story. I'm losing my train of thought here.
That's all right.
I think it's, but that's volition that makes me do that. I say, well, fuck it, I'm going to work for this, you know, and I did. And I had some, I feel like I had success. I could be delusional. I don't know, but.
Well, you know, I have to acknowledge that, like you said, everybody's got beliefs. And that's the same with what I'm doing here. I have a belief. I do not know. I do not have enough to really dig my heels in. I like to propose this option because I used to never even give a look at fatalism or determinism. I was just emphatically against it because I was raised Catholic. I have a soul.
Yeah.
You know, my soul drives my body.
Yeah.
What about you? Okay, on that note, do you believe in like an individual soul within your body that's you?
I think there's one soul.
One
And
universal soul?
and it's expressed in, you know, right now it's about 7.5 billion different ways.
Yeah.
And those are each different little constitutions running around. Rather than calling them souls, I call them constitutions. And they are all a belief, every one of them. Some of them are a belief that's aligned with the way things are, and others are not. I think all of them are not sometimes. So, you know, but so I think of soul, when we talk about it on the individual basis, is the individualized expression of the one soul, which is expression.
So yeah, it's like an outcropping of the one soul. It's a feature of the one soul. It's an expression.
It's all the one. It's all monotheism we're talking here. If the belief is, it's a belief. Now, I think for me, there's a faith that's come because I believed it so long that that there is a oneness that includes everything, and that's all souls, all lives, every expression of life, whether it's human or animal or rock or planet or solar system. There's one life. I think that's what that's the main theme of monotheism. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. That's what I always basically inferred emotionally as a kid. I forgot which one of those Aquinas or whoever said, God is a circle whose center is everywhere and circumference is nowhere.
There you go. I like that.
And that was, and I really, so basically viscerally, I tend to go that way. For example, you've heard the term panpsychism.
I've heard it. I don't know what it means.
It's very similar. It means that
I know what pan means.
Yeah. You mean like all or like, okay. It could have been the God of Pan, God Pan or Peter Pan or whatever, but, or getting hit over the head with a frying pan. I don't know. But psychism basically means, psyche used to mean soul, in Greek days, I guess. So panpsychism means ever-present soul, or it means everything has consciousness or everything has soul.
Well, now then, like one of the things you suggested at one time is there consciousness in matter? Mm-hmm. And I would say matter exists within consciousness. And Einstein's little equation about E equals mc squared, M being mass, that's matter, times the speed of light squared is equal to the energy that's gone into it, which you can't see energy. It's a power. It's the spirit. And so there's a relationship there. So having been raised in Christian Science, I was taught that there is no life, truth, intelligence, nor substance in matter. All is infinite mind and its infinite manifestation. Well, that puts it all in the realm of mind.
Okay.
Einstein had something different to say about that. He said that you can take that energy, which is just another word that a lot of people use for God, and if there's a relationship between it and any piece of matter. And he proved it. And not only did he prove it, but people that understand that kind of stuff are, they get big bucks if they prove him wrong. And they're out there trying to prove him wrong. Plus they made predictions based on his little formula, and they aren't doing any of that over at the Christian Science camp. I can tell you that for damn sure. Not with any consistency that, come through.
Yeah, so, I heard one.
I think they're both real.
In what sense? That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought you were, after you said what you said, I wouldn't have thought you were going to say,
I think that I am more impressed by a principle that has been brought down to a formula that has been tested and is constantly tested by people that are a shitload smarter than me. And it has consistently performed in predictions. I believe it. I call that science. Christian Science, I call some form of Christianity. And there's a real benefit to the way that you look at things and how you think about things, no question about it. But it is not the whole fucking story. It's part of the story. That spiritual life is a big part of life. It's the part that we have some control over. If the fucking tree falls on you, you don't have any control over that. But what you do with your mind, you do have control over. And so that's why I really believe some of the principles they teach, but I just don't believe it's everything. I think matter is real. What real means, I don't know. Like I said earlier.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm sure, you said a couple of things I want to respond to. One of the, about what you don't know. So one time I'm standing on the door jamb in my office. This was in my mid-40s, and I was going through some shit, buddy. And I said to my boss, his name was Lauren, I said, Lauren, the older I get, the more I think I don't know anything. And he said, that's knowing a lot. And that is knowing a lot.
Yeah.
The only thing I said earlier, the only thing I'm really certain of is that consciousness is not an illusion. It's something's going on. What it is, I have my opinions about it. I may be right, I may be wrong. I've been wrong so much in my life, I'd be willing to bet I'm wrong. But there's something going on.
At least language-wise, it seems like it's hard to deny consciousness exists, because consciousness is used synonymously in the discussions I hear among the professionals, philosophers and scientists, is consciousness is a synonym for awareness. Consciousness is a synonym for experience. Well,
what was that second one?
Experience. And so,
well, I think both of those make up your consciousness.
And so, it seems very hard to deny consciousness, because I don't even, maybe if there was some magical new language that we could use instead of the English language or any earth language, but it does seem hard to deny consciousness.
I agree. So it's not an illusion. Something's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe I know what it is, maybe I don't. But I think we're using it right now. I got my opinions over here. You got yours over there. We're sharing opinions. That's consciousness, and it's the activity of consciousness going on. Fortunately, there was somebody smart in a different way than we are that was able to come up with this device that I'm holding in my hand, and you're looking at your computer, and it's fucking amazing stuff.
Oh,
If you ask me.
that was Fred, my next door neighbor. He's a psycho. No, I'm kidding. No, but I was gonna say there's a couple of things. One, I'm not sure if it's somebody who's way smarter than you that does all the science. It could be somebody who's really well trained in experimental procedures. Yeah. And drawing inferences and stuff. That's what they do for a living, man.
Well, they're smart in some way that I'm not.
To me, it's kind of like a football game. Like I don't know if I said this to you, but it's got a discipline to it, rules, and it's got actual referees. The world of publishing scientific findings, and so that holds people accountable for their assumptions, and that kind of thing. So I like it too. I was going to say the other thing. Okay, so we just talk about existence as being, or God, or the universe as being the mind.
The mind,
the consciousness, whatever you said. Consciousness. There's one.
Well, consciousness is an expression of it.
Okay. Would you say there is a universal mind?
Well, religion tells us that God knows everything.
Yeah.
God and He knows what you're doing, and you better not be naughty.
Would you say that the universe makes choices, possibly?
No, I think it operates on a very impersonal way.
On a very what?
Impersonal.
Okay.
IMPERSONAL. Impersonal.
Okay.
Life is impersonal. It doesn't give a fuck about me. I'm no more significant than a weed, or an ant, or a grain of sand to life. Life goes on irrespective of whatever I do. Along the way, I bump into some of it, and I have an opinion about that. Life, to me, is reality, whatever it is. And when I bump into it, that is my subjective opinion of that little piece of reality.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll buy that. So when the universe and its processes winds up with a human being, when does the ability to choose enter the picture?
Well, I'm sure it's after the fucking.
Okay, let's start. Okay, after the fucking.
I don't know. You would have Roger's a neurologist. You could ask him. He would have a better opinion of that. I would think, even though I don't know that anybody has a memory of their birth, although I'm sure if you went down to Cassandra down there in Orlando, you'd find somebody that did. But at some point along the way we become cognizant of our surroundings. I think from the moment we open our eyes, there's a sort of, what the fuck is this? I think it's pretty much a blank slate, except for what happened in the womb. Mm-hmm. And that can be horrific. So, it may not be a blank slate at all, but that's the way I think of it. And then, we start collecting information and try to understand what this is before us. Remember, we don't speak a language. Nobody can tell us. We're pretty much alone in this thing. And fortunately, some of us have people that hold us and comfort us and tell us it's all okay, and kiss us and tell us how cute we are, change our diaper when we get shit on us and stuff like that. And I imagine we like that, but when I see my 2-year-old want to sit in his shit for an extra hour, I wonder. My grandkid, God. So we formulate opinions, and certainly what I thought the world was when I was 15 or 20 even is nothing, 20 maybe, but isn't much like what I think it is today. You grow and learn if you're seeking.
Yes, and you mentioned Roger Reep, our mutual friend and neurologist, I think he and other people like him would answer much in the way you did. At some point, we would say, I don't know what's going on in there. And like, for example, when I ask, when does volition come in? I think Roger will talk all the way down to as much of the wiring and the documentation of,
Yeah.
the brain. And then at some point, he would probably say, none of us scientists pretends we have an answer,
Yeah.
we keep wanting to, and I think also, in my opinion, I don't know if Roger would say this or you would say this. To me, I think the explanations that have validation, right, but also have some usefulness are the kind of ones I go at, anyway. So when I ask you, where does the consciousness enter, or where does the consciousness begin, or where does the choosing ability begin? Definitely not intended to be a gotcha question. It's intended.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Hey, hit me with a gotcha. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think.
No,
Yeah.
you exercise skepticism. When you don't know, you say you don't.
So there's volition. See.
Yes, and you mentioned that there are limitations. Like, I can't go out and shoot a purple tree monster because there's no such thing as a purple tree monster.
No, but I try to guide my day and use it, and make judgments on what I think will work. I know Mark will pull me out. I know I need the tow rope to do it. And so I'm going to hook that tow rope up, and I'm going to call Mark, and he's going to come over here, and he's going to hook and drive me right out of there. And, I think volition is
see, that's why I ask these questions, because they come up, in my opinion, they sound like big esoteric questions, but they come up in our daily lives.
Yeah.
And we have about 1 minute and 14 seconds. So yeah, the ultimate question for me there is, when does consciousness emerge in a human being? Which I think can be answered by saying when the brain develops enough to do that. Do you believe that there's like a soul inside, or some kind of mini version of consciousness inside of every atom, or anything like that?
I don't think like that.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering.
I don't think like that.
What do you mean? You don't believe that?
I think mind includes all consciousness, all different understandings of it. Mm-hmm. And it's got to be a common thing. I think it's through that's what we communicate through. I have ideas over here. You speak the same language. You can get these ideas. We can talk about them, massage them. If we have a good enough command of the language, you might give me some ideas. Hey, what if we do this? Maybe this would actually work better. And then I never thought of that. And so that's mind working. That's our magicians going to work.
Oops, that's my little alarm. By the way, the reason I ask questions like that is because I thought at the beginning you said that there's sort of a consciousness in trees and rocks.
Yeah, that mind is, I would say mind is the universal.
Okay.
And consciousness is the expression of mind.
Okay. That's going to have to be the last word, because our little ringer went off, our little dinging. I sound like a very educated person. Our bell went off. Our timer's done.
All right, we'll punch the button on that and stop the recording.
I am pushing the button on it, and the recording is now going to stop. Bye, everybody. Like and subscribe. I hate saying that.